car, fires would start.
And the
Literal
insurance company would dispute.
Right. They can, yeah.
It's from Fred.
Oh, I know. It's all stuff I have to file.
It's for me.
Oh, it's all it's for the board.
Just for me, or? I told Patrick, I'm glad he didn't send me a picture of him in the shower today.
I was going to. I was going to, all naked, all soaked up.
It's going in the newsletter.
That would be perfect.
Is it? Brett, you gotta watch if we need more chairs.
Got a bunch of stacks here.
Yeah, if we could, if you need help, let me know. Oh, I have. Talk about sewer. Make sure when you talk, you turn your mics on. Got it?
It's car warranty.
Thanks, Brett.
How many minutes do we have?
2.
2.
Is this a clean one?
It should be. Just check.
Clean. Should I turn that TV down? Ladies and gentlemen, it is 6 o'clock, and what I'd like to do is welcome you to the Village of Vernon Board meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 2nd, 6 o'clock. I'm going to ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Fred, I'm going to ask you to do the roll call and open meeting compliance.
Yeah. President Chu,
I'm here.
Trustee Pecca?
Here.
Trustee Finch?
Here.
Trustee Newman?
Here.
Trustee Millies?
Here.
This meeting is noticed and posted according to law.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to read the closed session notice and then we'll go into public comments. We may have a possible closed session, would be the consideration and possible action on a motion to convene into executive session under Wisconsin State Statutes 19.85, paren 1, paren C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data over any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, more specifically the Recreation Director, the DPW Director, Administrator Clerk. In closed session will be the Village Board and the Clerk Administrator. This will require a roll call vote and no decision will be made in closed session. With that, I'm assuming you're here all for public comments, so we don't have a formal sign-in sheet, so what we'd like you to do, if you wouldn't mind, is come up to the microphone here and just state your comments. Is there anyone that would like to make a public comment? Oh, come on, guys. Public comments? Pat, is that chair okay?
I'll just stand.
He's gonna stand. Are you sure?
I just had a question about what's on the agenda about the fire department, the village hall, and DPW garage. Are we gonna have a referendum where we can actually vote on this? That's a big question because I want, in my eyes, I think we should have a referendum. This is not just for the board to make a decision on. It's a big expenditure.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pat, can you state your name and address? Pat
Patrick
Cornell?
Cornell, W243 South 10085 Leah Drive. This is a lot of money, and some of it I agree with, some of it I don't, so I would just like to have an opportunity to vote on that kind of money. A lot of people retired, soon be retiring, it's a lot of money they're gonna have to be paying.
Thank you, Pat. I just wanted to let the public know if we don't respond to you, we're just complying with the open meetings law. But we do have some of these items on the agenda for discussion later. So if we don't respond to your public comments, it's not that we're ignoring you, we're just following the law. Sir, did you have a comment?
No, I'll just let him.
Oh, you're just like, are there any public any other? Sir, come on up, please. And if you could just state your name and address.
Name is Steve St. John, W229 7000 Guthrie School Road. And my wife and I are here tonight, particularly with some kind of interest, as the last gentleman will be interested in hearing in what's happening with the fire station, etc. And we're very concerned if it does not go to a referendum, because it sounds like it may involve a huge tax increase, and so might have more to say about it after a while. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments?
Can we stay on a different topic? Is that okay?
Oh, absolutely. You can talk about whatever you want, as long as it's not piggish.
No.
And you can sit down, dear, if you.
Okay, that's fine. My name is Court Aaron and Crystal Christensen. We are on Hartwig Avenue.
Oh, when we get to that agenda item, you guys will be able to speak on it.
Oh, okay, so
We'll
I
need-
can
yeah,
for that?
yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine, I didn't know, thank you.
That is an agenda item, just so you know.
Okay,
You know, just so you know.
Yep.
Because the board's gonna wanna hear.
Okay, perfect.
Also. Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Okay, what we'll do then is the first, I'd like to introduce Justin Fisher. Justin is our representative from Baird Financial. Just so the public knows, through this whole process, and as you know, this is a process. We had this meeting scheduled, you know, a long while ago, just to see, what the parameters would be for the board to consider. And I just want to let you know, the board's still discussing all this, and I just want to say, I'm sure I echo the board's comments. I appreciate you all being here because we've had several public participation meetings. I know the Jacobys and Patrick were there, but nobody came, so I appreciate your input. But with that, Justin, I'll let, if you don't mind, go through the resolutions and the financial component of the possible borrowing for these projects.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me here tonight. As many of you recall, I mean, we kind of been looking at this for a very long time. I think my first presentation on this was October of last year, when we started looking at different financing plans. And that's, you know, as you're working with Keller on the cost estimates and different plans and so forth, that's where we most recently did a presentation, was a couple months ago now, where where I gave some different financing scenarios and options, different tax impacts, based on different strategies and financing options. And ultimately, we came up with the one that everyone kind of was agreeing with, that it was going to be a phased approach over time. And so that's kind of where we are today, is we've done all that analysis, and now we're at the point where it's really kind of getting things started. And that's what it is, getting things started. It's not doing it all at one time. It's doing it in phases over time and kind of taking the most important projects first and kind of working our way through the different projects. So in front of you, there's a presentation packet. It's very similar to what I've gone through with you in the past. But what I'll do is I'll run through it, and we'll go through the financing structure, the timeline, the detailed financing illustration, and general obligations and tax and so forth. So when you look at page 1 there, the estimated size of the first financing would be up to $10 million, so not to exceed $10 million. And again, the reason we're trying to keep it at $10 million or less is for bank qualified purposes. We went through that whole strategy last time. Ultimately, why that matters is if you issue less than $10 million a calendar year, you're considered a small issuer in the marketplace. Because again, the marketplace, every week there's about $9 billion that enters it. So you know, $10 million is actually considered pretty small in this world. So what this is a general obligation promissory note. So a general obligation is an unlimited taxing authority. It's your most secure type financing. You're not allowed to borrow as much as you want. There is a cap by state statutes, which is 5% of your equalized valuation. We can go through that again in a couple pages here. So the first purpose of this financing would be to finance the fire station improvements. So that project in particular has an amount in excess of $10 million. So this first piece would get you the funding to start the project. Over time, as cost estimates hopefully come down, next year is when we would potentially do the next phase of that financing. You know, we're estimating, based on Keller's projections, around $15 million for that particular piece. But again, ideally it comes in less, and we don't need to borrow in phase 2 next year for that remaining $5 million. Structure would be maturing March 1 of 2025 to 2044, because municipalities in Wisconsin under general obligation authority cannot issue more than 20 years. 20 years is the maximum term for a financing. And again, we're trying to match it up to the useful life of the project. This project obviously should last much longer than 20 years, but again, 20 years is the maximum timeline that we were able to borrow for. First interest being next year, March 1 of 2025, so it gets fixed in. That way you know what your debt payment is for the following year, and you can put it on your tax levy. It will be callable March 1 of 2032 or any date thereafter, so on that particular day is when you could look to refinance or pay it off. The estimated interest rate, based on kind of market conditions, about a 4.5%. That does have a little bit of cushion in there based on where we would be in today. If we jumped in, we would probably be closer to about a 4.25% for an interest rate. You know, but without having this go into the market in the next week or two, they've got about 2 months prior to us actually potentially jumping into the market, so we wanted to give a little bit of interest rate flexibility, conservative planning, and hopefully come in less when the time comes. The maximum parameter interest rate would be a 5%. So if all of a sudden interest rates start jumping up over the next month, 2 months, that's where I would want to get back in front of you, tell you what's something happened in the marketplace where, you know, either inflation data is coming in much stronger all of a sudden than anticipated, and interest rates have shot up. We may want to hold off for a period of time until we start seeing things settle in or potentially come down. So that's, you know, that's kind of the maximum parameter. The village board would consider the plan of finance and parameters resolution tonight. Again, this gives the authority for the sale of the notes within the designated parameters to the village president or village clerk administrator. Now, we would start the process for the official statement. So we did this a couple of years ago, and we went out to the public market, and Karen remembers this. So we put together what's called an official statement. This is like a 30-page document that contains all the information about the village, financial information, demographics, anything a potential buyer of these municipal bonds would want to know is in this document and sent out to them to review. We would go through the bond rating process. So this is where ultimately we would have an hour call with Moody's, where ultimately they would ask us a bunch of questions about the financials. They'd look at your prior audits, etc., look at the wealth in the community, development, and so forth, and then ultimately assign a bond credit rating. Because you have good financials, you have good strong fund balance, a large tax base, etc., I anticipate that we're going to receive a strong rating when we go out for that, which is only going to help with the interest rate that we ultimately receive when we go out to the marketplace. And then if the market is strong and meet the board's parameters, potentially early September is where we would potentially jump into the market. Because again, valuations come out in August. That's when the new valuations will come out. So that's an important thing to take a look at. You've been growing at a pretty tremendous growth rate over the last several years. I anticipate that being pretty strong again this year. And then your audit, that's the other piece, is we're going to be looking for the audit to be completed because the rating analysts and potential buyers will want to see that as well. So that's one thing that we're going to want to try to get in place before we jump into the market. And then the closing, potentially early October, but again, this is flexible. It really just needs to be closed by the end of the year so we can get that payment on the tax levy for the following year and continue the strategy and lock in that $10 million for that bank qualified status. So going to page 2 here, there's a lot of numbers on this page. You've seen this plan in the past, but the left side of the page, that's your existing debt payments on an annual basis, so 24 to 36 monthly payments. The middle of the page, the left side, that's the $10 million just pretty much being allocated towards the fire station project, again amortized over 20 years. And next year, that's again when we would evaluate financing the remaining portion of the fire station project and potentially financing the Village Hall DPW. So again, tonight is not necessarily the financing for the Village Hall DPW. This is more focused on the fire station for tonight. And then the final piece would be in 2026. Again, 10 million, 10 million, and then the final 4 million for the remaining piece of the Village Hall DPW building. So then when you look to the far right side of the page, that's where you can see the potential tax impacts. So essentially going from 20 cents to 75 cents, and then from that impact to $1.29, and then to $1.40, where it essentially flattens out after that. We modeled in future borrowings if you were to do that, whether it's $1 to $2 million every other year. That's going to be up to you and the board to decide later in 2026, 2027, whenever you decide to start implementing something like that, if you want to, if you decide to. But I wanted to model it in to kind of give a full picture, so you kind of go eyes wide open on what the tax may look like if you were to implement something like that. So that gives you kind of a picture of what things may look like, and essentially the tax rate potentially gets around that $1.79 and stays there as a max. So again, you are one of the lowest taxing jurisdictions, definitely in the area and in the state. It's totally up to you on if this is something you want to implement, but again, that's in the future. What we're focused on tonight is the fire station and getting that financing started to start that process. Now, if we go to the last page, like I said earlier, municipalities in Wisconsin are allowed to borrow up to 5% of your equalized valuation. The valuation of the village is over $1.3 billion. So pretty substantial valuation for a community like you. And so essentially what that means is you've got a very little amount of debt outstanding. What this is showing you is the black bars there. That's your outstanding. debt that you have, and you can see that's decreasing over time, because again, you're paying down that debt. The red bar is the fire station, the $10 million that we're talking about, so you can see how that's stacked. And then the gray bars, that's your remaining capacity that you have outstanding. So at the end of this year, you'll still have 82% remaining capacity, so pretty substantial capacity there. And then if we layer in the remaining pieces, the 25 fire station in Village Hall, that brings you to 69%, and then the final piece for the $4 million would bring you down to 62%. And again, anything with at least 40% remaining is considered pretty strong. A lot of municipalities in Wisconsin use at least 50% to 60% of their capacity to fund capital projects. But again, it's kind of one of those things where we're using a growth factor of 2% per year. If you grow more than 2%, this capacity amount is going to increase, but it gives me a sense of security that you guys are still going to be in a good financial position if you were to implement these financings as I'm going through this. So plenty of capacity if something else comes up.
Is there any questions from the board for Justin Fisher? I know, like I said, Justin, we've seen this, previously, but I just wanted to double check with the board if they had any questions in regards to what you presented. And Brad, you're going to put this up on the website. I know you have all the facility studies there, but you'll put this updated because you did update this just based upon. Okay.
And as far as the resolutions go, again, the first resolution is really tied to the fire station for basically approximately $15 million. And again, that was Keller kind of advising us on what it potentially is going to cost. That's what that's what this resolution is stating, is that you're authorizing up to $15 million for that project. You don't have to do $15 million. Ideally, the project comes in at $13 million, and you get that down. But tonight, this is authorizing up to $15 million for that particular project, and then the other resolution would be up to $10 million to get things started. So that's how it works.
The starting resolution is resolution 24-11, then correct? For the 10 million?
For the 10 million, yes. That's essentially allowing us to go get the process started with Karen and her team to get things prepared, that official statement, etc. So we're in position later this year to go into the market.
So to clarify, we're not spending any money. We're just going to see what banks will give us for interest rates, and that, right?
Well, if you give approval, then essentially we're going to be working with Karen, Brad, and their team to put together a financing package that'll essentially go out to the public market, and then based on that, if we receive a rate lower than the maximum parameter authorized, then ultimately it gives authority to sign off on sale and fix in those interest rates for a period of time. Now, as we've talked about in the past, what's nice right now, which is unique in history with interest rates, is that short-term rates are actually higher than what you potentially are going to be borrowing at for this period of time. It's an abnormal thing. It hasn't happened for over 20 years, but essentially it's called an inverted yield curve. So you can take these proceeds, invest it. Right now the LGIP is at over 5.3%, and we potentially are going to be borrowing at, say, 4.25%. You're going to be able to invest those proceeds until you need to spend them down, because eventually you will start getting larger invoices and spend down those proceeds. But for the period of time, you will be able to potentially earn more. As the Fed, potentially does rate cuts, when is that going to happen? That's anyone's guess at this point. All economic driven. But they are calling for one potential rate cut this year. But again, they called for how many? 3 to 5 rate cuts at the beginning of this year, and things continue to get pushed back. So for the time being, communities like you are really benefiting by investing these proceeds at a higher rate than they're actually borrowing for. So.
And then Justin, how are the investors going to look at the fact that our 23 audit isn't completed?
Well, ideally it will be completed by the time we go out to marketplace. So we're going to kind of wait for a period of time, and then eventually jump in once the 23 audit is complete.
Okay.
So again, we don't have to do this financing in the next 2 months. It could be 3 months, 4 months. What the ideal situation is that you get this closed by year end, so you are able to take advantage of bank qualified rates. That's the important thing, and then you can put that first payment on the tax levy for next year. And we can continue to implement the strategy, because you are gonna need more funds in the following year.
Okay. Jeff?
What happens if we borrow this money and for some unforeseeable circumstance, we don't proceed with build the fire station at this time? Is there an early payment penalty or?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to borrow for the money until everyone feels pretty secure.
Okay, that's what I was asking about before.
Yeah,
We're
this
not-
it takes a
This
long
is more of a
process.
just going out and seeing what we could
Getting
get kind
everything
of thing.
prepared. Get everything prepared.
That's where I was going.
Well, I was thinking too, if we get the money and the short-term rates are so high where we're able to invest it and make a little bit until we need it, something would happen and say, what's the prepayment penalty? or
Yeah,
something?
that, I wouldn't want to necessarily do that unless we were for sure doing the fire station project.
And I'm not complaining, but the document he's talking about has to be this thick with all the paperwork and documentation that's required. It's a lot of work, internal work. Surprise.
Done it before.
Yeah. It's a lot of money and then,
Right.
people, investors, potential, banks and trust funds and insurance companies, they want to review it in detail before they make an informed decision.
Any other questions for Justin before? Thank you, Justin. I appreciate all the information that you've given us, and I know Brad will put this up on the Village of Vernon website so the public can see everything that you were talking about. And we'll keep you posted on what happens here.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Board members, with that on items number A, B, and C, do you feel confident that you would like to discuss those, or do you feel you'd like more information? How do you feel about moving on the resolutions 21, 2409, 10, and 11? The 2109 is the $15 million for the fire department, the $9 million for the village hall, and the resolution 2111 is the 10 million for general obligation to start off point that Justin spoke about. I know, I just have to state, we thought, when we were in this whole planning process, we had thought that our June newsletter would have all this information in the public, and we don't even have our newsletter done yet, because the thought was getting as much of this information out to the public to get some more feedback from the public, because like I said, we had the public information meetings, and in defense of the public, if we don't have Facebook now, and I don't know how many people go to the website. So in defense of the public, they've really not informed on what we're all looking at. So that was the quest of the newsletter, is to get that information to the public in written form. Also, it's on the website, but if people don't know that it's there, they can't review it. But I just wanted to give you some parameters of what we've been discussing, and just so the public knows, when you see things on the agenda, it's only because we can't talk about these things on a sidebar. Everything we talk about is public, unless it's closed session. It's something that we have to talk in closed session, and there's small parameters of what we can do with that. But like I said, we're a little bit behind on where we want it as far as informing the public of what we'd like to do. So I don't really know where the board, if you'd like to wait a little bit on these resolutions, or.
I think the A and B, so the 15 and the 9, would definitely, we can wait on, because we're not going to be borrowing the money this year anyway. But the 10, I guess my concern is I don't want to wait too long, but at the same time, I'd really like the newsletter to go out before we do too much, and then have that one last public, information meeting where everybody comes and tours everything. I guess that's where I stand.
That's where I stand too. I think we, let the resolution set, get the newsletter out, get feedback from it. We try to get a lot of feedback. But when it finally came down to the resolutions and that, now we're getting feedback. And that's what we want. So, let's get to that. Oh, sorry. So let's get it out, the newsletter, and see what the feedback is for a couple weeks afterwards, and then we can see where we need to be.
Thank you, trustee Finch.
Justin, this isn't gonna, if we waited a month on doing this, is that gonna prevent us from borrowing the 10 million this year?
No, no, it does not. No, the only thing that it prevents us from potentially doing is all of a sudden, say, something crazy happens in the market.
If interest rates change
Even like
drastically.
at the beginning of this year, we saw interest rates take a tumble
Yeah.
for whatever reason. You know, the Fed indicated they were gonna do those rate cuts. It dropped almost 1% very quickly.
Right.
If we see something like that, we would want to be in position to take advantage of something like
Right.
that, because right after that, then all of a sudden it's shot back up almost 1%. So
And you'd
there
be-
was a real small window.
Justin, we'd be locked in, that 10 million could only be used for a specific project.
For the fire station.
Right. I just want the board to know, I mean, if you think that, oh, well, we'll, you know, build something else. Trustee Peppa, you had a comment?
Well, the only thing is when we're dealing with this kind of money, I really ask you as our president and my fellow trustees to get as much information about this project into the newsletter as possible. We really need to keep our people out there informed.
Thank you. Any other comments from the
The
board?
newsletter's on.
Yeah, the newsletter's on the agenda, yes.
Question for Justin again.
Justin, you want to take, just so people can hear your responses in the audience?
If once we do approve the resolution, what's the time frame for you to get all the information together where we could actually lock in an interest rate if they go down?
Yeah, I mean, Karen's gone through this process a little bit, and we're gonna add the bond rating process to it as well, but it's like a 2-month process.
And Justin, when would the audit need to be done?
Like, I mean, I wouldn't see us jumping into the market until September-ish at the earliest. And that would be starting like almost today. So, you know, if we were to delay it a month, you know, October probably is the earliest we could jump in. So ideally, we have the audit done by that time.
Other comments from board members or questions for Justin? Well, thank you again, Justin. I'm sorry to keep them. Come on.
Absolutely.
So, board members, what is your desire? What would you like to do at this point? You want to hold off for a month or so, or?
Table it for a month, or?
Yeah, I really wanted this to get out, before we really make
So,
jumps in.
well then, I'd entertain a motion to table till the newsletter goes out. I hate to set a date because I don't know for
Correct.
sure when it's going to go out.
Table it till the newsletter goes out and after that public information meeting.
Meetings, correct, okay. Was that your, motion, trustee
I'll make that
Newman?
motion.
Is there a second to the
I'll
motion?
second.
Second by trustee Peckett. Discussion from the board. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. So Justin, we'll keep you posted, all right?
Sounds good.
Thanks again, you have a good evening.
Thanks.
Next agenda item are, Mr. and Mrs. Christensen, do you want to come up?
Sorry, thank you. Good evening. I am Krista Christensen, my husband Aaron. We are at S85W273 Hartwig Avenue in Vernon. This is relating to the construction that was completed on the whole Hidden Lake subdivision, I would say. And Karen, please. So in Hidden Lakes, there was construction completed on the road, the whole Hidden Lakes, and we are on Hartwig Avenue, which is the edge of the Hidden Lakes. So when they completed the construction, or prior to completing it, we were given information, and they assured us that whatever we had in our driveways was going to be restored to whatever we had. So for example, if we had asphalt, we'd get asphalt, or concrete, we'd get concrete, so that was fine. We have 2 driveways. We have one leading to our residence and then one leading to like our barns and things like that. And the one leading to the residence was perfectly fine. They completed that like how it was, right? Yeah, so that was fine. And then the one down by the barns is a gravel one. And if you look in the pictures, that first picture is a Google, the A picture is a Google Maps of what it looked like prior to the construction. And you can see in that picture that there's like a curve along the road, look like the Hartwood Road. And you can see that the gravel comes right to the edge of the curve right there. And then if you look in letter B, you can see all the ruts, and that was recently taken just in the last couple of days. You can see all the ruts from the rain and everything like that. So what has happened is, in that...
Excuse me, I was just gonna ask if somebody could close that door. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. So what happened is, in the, our first driveway up by the house, they put a curb in the road. In the second driveway, for some reason, I don't know why, but they did not put the curb in. So what happens is on Hartwick Avenue, we're a big hill, we're a huge hill. So what happens is the water runs all down the hill, and when you get to the second driveway, 'cause since there's no curb, the water goes directly all into our driveway. It just rushes right through, and as you look at all the pictures, you can see all of these ruts rushing right into our driveway. Well, before the construction, that curb was there in letter A, the curb was there so the water would not rush into our driveway. So what's happening now is it just is washing away our driveway. It's like gone. So the first time we contacted Village, they came out, they were kind enough, they came out and they put, I think, tillings, asphalt tillings, and then they rolled it. And it was really nice for about a week till it rained. And every time it rains, more and more washes out. And I believe it's picture, which is the one? This one, D, the top of D, you can see all of that asphalt and all this stuff is washing now into our grassy area. We have a nice pile of, asphalt tillings and gravel. If anyone wants to come grab it, it's like washing now into our grass. It's just piling up. And some of the ruts now on letter D, some of the ruts, you can see my foot there. Before the gravel was right against the road, and now my foot is almost like a foot to 2 feet deep there in that rut. And then the bottom picture, that was a garden bed where the gravel was even with all the rocks, and now that is about a foot to 2 feet deep. I mean, we have ruts everywhere, and every time it rains, it just gets worse and worse. In the winter is especially more fun because the water, like when the plows come by and salt, the water rushes right into our gravel, and it makes a nice, huge ice skating rink. So my husband has a business and he has to get into those barns for his tools. He can't even drive down there now. So what we're asking is, adding gravel does not help because it just washes out into our grass. We're asking for the city to please put that curb back in, because when they came and said that they were going to replace it back to what it was a curb. We just need that curb back. That's all we're asking for. We just want the water to stop.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said curb.
Curb. There's a curb there that stopped the water. And if you look down the whole Hartwick Avenue, there's a whole curb except in front of our driveway. That's all we want. Please put the curb back. Please stop the water. That's all we're asking.
Thank you. Anything, you can talk again, but I just want to defer to our DPW director.
Yeah.
Brett, you want to comment on?
Yeah, so in spring, well, first off, when it was paved last year, they contacted me. The Carlton curb was placed back in front of your driveway because you asked. Generally speaking, when you pave, you drop your Carlton curb so you don't have a bump on your driveway. So they placed it in front of your high-end driveway. Now they dropped it on your low-end driveway because it was gravel. That way, if you ever pave, you don't have a bump there.
But you guys widened and heightened, made the road higher.
Correct.
Made the road higher.
That's industry standard, because when you pulverize a road, it comes up. Instead of hauling everything out of there and paying to have everything hauled out of there, the height of the road is going to change.
Okay,
So,
but there was a curb to begin with, which stopped all the water.
right, and I catered to that with the paving on your top driveway when you asked, and I did that. Them guys, when they paved the road, left it open so you wouldn't have a bump down.
But open means the water's funneling right in.
Right.
No curb means the water.
With that way you can plan to pave it someday. If you pave it, it doesn't wash away.
But if we don't pave it.
We never had a plan to pave
You have
it.
to rake a gravel driveway, correct, if you don't pave it. That is kind of the way it works. I don't understand what more you're looking for, because I did come back, like you said.
It's
and
all
I did
washed
repair.
out. It's
Right.
all
Everything you
washed
did is washed out. And if someone would have told us, if someone would have said, hey, we're gonna leave it open for you so you can pave it, we would have very clearly said, no, don't leave it open, because when you do that, all the water's gonna rush in, we're not paving. I guess I'm really confused, because the paperwork, and all the paperwork said, we're gonna put it like you had it to begin with. And we thought, great, curb, I went to work. And then when you're telling me that you did us a favor by putting the original driveway, the front one with the curb, that's what was there to begin with. So you guys were required to put what was there to begin with. You didn't do us a favor.
He called me and I met him there.
But, I'm sorry, I
Yes.
need to,
And that, I put it back like that because he asked me to.
we just put that driveway in a year ago. That was brand new, and we paid to put that curb in, so you did not do us a favor. We are not happy that that was being cut out when it was a year old. You put in what was there and new.
I guess for the sake of things, the village board, I guess, has heard the request as to the curb was there or not,
The curb was there to prevent the water.
to do that. I guess the question for DPW Director Bartels is when we repaved the road, do you recall if there was a curb there or not at their second driveway?
I do not. It was patched. It was there was holes and
It's in that Google
patches
Maps
there.
picture.
This road isn't curbed all over.
I put Carlton curb down to carry the water down the hill, so.
Because
all-
we have very little
and there-
subdivisions.
There was some Carlton.
Yeah, it's not a true.
It's not a
true.
Yeah, it's
so
not a regular.
so
I'd say it's like a valley.
So what DPW Director Bartels is saying with the Carlton curb, it's not your D curb or your pan curb that you see with concrete and developed subdivisions or subdivisions with curb and gutter and storm sewer. It's more of a hump, a buildup of asphalt on the edge to allow the water to run down the road instead of running off the road, that we typically see in our rural sections of road. Cherry has some, there's some here and there within the village. This was one spot where it was,
Yeah, I
for
don't know
it.
what else to call it. I call it a curb, but it's more like a valley, would you call it?
It's called Carlton curb.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's like a little valley. But he has a video on his phone, because we took it while it rained. You can see all the water flowing right down, and it works so effective. It goes right in that little curb until it comes to our driveway, and it goes right in. It just flows. You can see it in the pictures. It just flows right in.
Board members, do you have any questions?
How far apart are the two driveways?
100 feet, 150.
Yeah. That's probably
And
about
our
right.
driveway is like at the main one's at the top, and then the gravel one's at the bottom. So all this water is flowing, and there's a lot.
Don't we do the roads that are kind of higher in the center, so the water's supposed to run off into the ditch
Yes,
versus
so-
down the road?
There's no ditches there because we're on a hill.
So because it's a hill and the ditch is fairly shallow there, that's why I had the Carlton curb put to carry it down the hill to down by the waterway.
No, there's a lot of water. It's a big hill.
Now, like I said, almost,
So east to west, the highest, or the lowest point is that gravel drive.
it goes down
It goes a little bit
further,
more because it gets to that creek
but that is,
pretty low.
you're getting close towards the bottom of the hill
So
there.
the water that's causing the issue is going from east to west.
Yes.
It's coming down the road, the curb
Yes,
stops
east-west.
for their
Yes.
driveway, is what they're saying.
Yes,
And that is
east-west.
what happens. And the reason that happens is so they don't have a large bump coming out of their driveway. So that's how it was paved. And that's how you pave roads generally. And we put it back up top because they called and they asked me to. So I did put it back up
Yes.
top.
And even if you look in the Google Maps on the first one, that letter A, originally our driveway had just a little patch, I don't even know how big, maybe 5, 6 feet of asphalt in there too, originally. And we didn't ask them to do that, but like everything's gone. Like the instant it rains, more washes away. And then before you guys came, so much had washed away that we could see underneath your new road. So it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's just gonna keep washing.
Who put that, you said you didn't put that asphalt into your driveway?
When we bought the house, the asphalt was there.
Okay.
But they put a patch of asphalt there.
I'm assuming the town did because it was washing out before, because there was no curb there.
Yeah, it was just cold patch though, it wasn't.
Yeah,
it was
Correct.
cold patch.
Yeah.
So to try to preserve the road, they added cold patch on the edge in the past.
So,
But we've been here like 8 years and we haven't had
the curb
one
itself
problem.
isn't in front of the driveways, it's in between the two driveways.
It is in front of their top one, because they called and asked me to have it kept there. But normally you would not pave in front of another paved driveway.
I wish we would've, oh, can you see the first driveway? Or no?
I'm just looking on Google,
Yeah, so that
preview.
bump, we had, before you guys did the construction, we had that put in. We personally, when we got our driveway done, we had that put in and then they just repeated it. Because there's just so much water that comes down that hill. It's just a lot. I mean, that's just nature.
the high spot that's like 6 or 8 feet back from the road. That's what you're talking about?
And are you seeing the first asphalt
Yeah, the
driveway?
house driveway.
That big bump?
Yeah.
Yep, we put that in.
Like where the peak is like 8 feet from the road or something
Yeah,
like that.
we
Yeah.
put that in. Just to stop, there's just so much water that comes down the hill. And it washes out the driveway if we don't do that.
So you're asking the village to,
Continue that little groovy curve in the road to stop the gravel from washing. We can't, continuing to add gravel, it just would be a fool's errand. We'd be doing it like every month. And then it goes into the grass. That would be just stupidity.
I will remind the village board that,
Or something, whatever you
We-
think.
driveways in particular are
private property.
private property, and the village grants the authority for someone to put in a driveway in their yard, and the village does have an authority to request and require somebody to remove a driveway also. So it just, is that, and I think this could be something with precedence that is there as we start to infringe off our traditional road paths, or we get offside a traditional roadway, we open ourselves up to, once we do something for one person, then we set the precedence, and it becomes hard not to do it in the future for somebody else.
And I get that. My concern is when we got the first paperwork and you guys said you would restore to what we originally had. This is not what we originally had. And this is gonna keep washing and washing and washing. And like, we're getting to the point that if you guys are saying, well, we left it so you guys could pave it. We never wanted to pave that area. So why are we being forced to, when you're going, oh, so you can pave, we don't want to pave that area.
You're not being forced to pave it.
Well, when
The
you-
choice is when you have a gravel drive and it rains and your driveway's washing out because of the height of the road.
But it never had.
Right, but there was no curb there before.
You can see in Google Maps there was. I'm 100% positive, it always had.
I mean, I'm not gonna argue it back and forth, but you have more water and the height of a road change. In order for us to add a Carlton curb to this, I'd have to cut out part of the current road that's there. I feel it's their driveway and their responsibility to either maintain the gravel or if they wanna pave their approach, you
Okay,
guys can
so
pave
if
your
we
approach.
don't, and it washes out, because you
Yeah,
just
fine.
came out and it was washing under the road,
Fine.
what about that then?
Then when it
Because-
washes out and your road washes out, then you deal with it then. That's
Then,
fine, because it
as
was
he
washing
said though, I
out.
can say there's a drainage problem and have you remove your driveway.
That's fine, but then you would then.
Remove the entire gravel of my whole bottom half of my property.
You'd still
If
have
it's a
to-
drainage problem causing road damage, yes.
did you
How would
just,
I remove all the gravel in my property? That doesn't even make
You'd
sense.
have to recreate a ditch there.
did you say the rain now is undermining the road?
It
Before
will
he
if
came
you
the
allow
last
it
time,
to,
it was, yes.
before we repaired it. So we repaired it because it was starting to wash away to the point where it was gonna start to
Because
come back
of how
onto
they
the road.
constructed
Wait,
it.
wait,
because
let him
yeah.
speak.
So that's why I made a point in spring to go back and repair it.
That was like a month ago.
Nothing has been done since I've gone back.
And it's all washed out, what he put in.
Yeah, but you should go out there and rake it. That's your right of way to take care of. I can't come out there every time it rains to rake your driveway.
But it's only washing in there because
Because of what
you
you
guys
guys
flattened it out.
did.
Well, because you can't keep the water on the road. It has to come off the road.
So
Where is your?
So for the board to keep moving on this, just a little history is that DPW Director Bartels and myself did receive an email from Mr. and Mrs. Christensen, and they were informed by DPW Director Bartels and myself that, you know, the position that DPW Director Bartels has right now is a position that as staff we've taken, and then if a resident doesn't agree with that, they can always petition the village board like they are here tonight. So that's why they are here in front of you guys tonight.
I think the board clearly understands that, and the board did see the comments from the village attorney also warning, not just because of you, but if they take action, it does set a precedent. But does the board have any questions from the Christensens or our DPW director?
Say you did blacktop that driveway there, isn't it gonna undercut the far side not having a ditch?
Yeah,
When
you
it's
might,
coming down, it's
you
gonna
might,
hit
you might
that
need,
blacktop.
you might need a culvert, but, maybe not, because it would probably carry, so there's Carlton curb up to both ends. So as it carries down, if you pave your approach there, and then it starts to come down, it should swing down and across their asphalted approach if you were to pave it. And then hit the grass behind it. Now, your grass might start to get a washout hole or something if you don't have it ditched properly or have a way to carry the water away. But
Yeah, I thought all roads and driveways were supposed to be crowns to water and sit on run down the road, and you'll have ditches along every road too, because you can't build a house now no matter where without having a ditch and culvert in.
pretty much, most places are gonna have a culvert, yes.
No, but not on the top of the hill.
Right, well, yeah, if you're at top of the hill, it's not
It
necessary.
still makes you put them in.
Well, I decided the culvert.
I was gonna say.
I mean, this road's probably extremely, or one of our older roads in the village, so it was probably put in prior to ditches being there, and they've never been
84.
required to put the, you know, the ditch in.
There's a river right, there's a
There's a
lake,
river
a
right
little,
at the
little brook or river that carries right into the Hidden Lakes pond, right down, just lower from there.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Christensen, did you want to add anything to your presentation? Brett, I just, when you went out to look at the road, was the road being undermined?
It was gonna soon, yeah, the gravel was gone, so I'm sure there was water getting under it at that point. That's why I had the guys, go out and add stone to it, and then they whacked it down, which is now since, as they say, washing out again.
It is washing out again?
Yeah.
The part where my foot is, that's where it is again, it's in the exact same spot.
But it's not being maintained either, nobody's doing anything about it.
We have
They're
added
just
gravel.
watching it wash out and taking pictures of it.
But is that their property or our right of
That
way?
is, I mean, it's in the right of way there,
Oh,
sure,
it's in the right of
but
way.
the approach, once you make yourself a driveway, is your property to maintain.
When you expanded the road, you moved into the driveway and then took out the bump. So you kind of
But
created
you
the
didn't have a
problem.
bump there, you had cold patch that the village placed there in the past.
Okay, so then there was still cold patch there to stop the water from
Right,
washing
you
in.
took out everything that was
Is
there,
what you did.
everything that was there to stop all of this and replace nothing. You took out everything that was working, and now we're sitting here.
Trustee Finch,
How much would it cost to put a curb in there?
we said we had to cut out the whole road, didn't you?
Not the whole road, I would have to cut off the edge to match the Carlton curb to carry it further down.
Did you ask the engineer about this?
The
Andy?
Carlton curb,
No, the issue that we're dealing with?
I haven't talked to Andy about it, I mean, I can if you'd like me to, but he's gonna, I mean,
I'm
yes,
just,
I can if you'd like.
my concern, no offense, is the undermining of the road. I mean.
Well, that's not undermining anymore, it was, when we placed, as you can see in this picture, the road is not gonna undermine as long as the approach is maintained.
So are we continuing to maintain that?
No, that should be
It's
their
put on
responsibility
us. Every
now.
time it rains, we have to go out and fix it so the road doesn't wash away.
So I'm supposed to go into my grass and rake the gravel out of my grass 20 feet away and bring it back into the
So
road?
I'm sorry, is it or is it not undermined? Do we,
It's not currently undermining, it might be now, again, I haven't gone and looked at
Look
it
at the
in the last
We
day or so.
we haven't seen the pictures.
Oh.
They
Yeah, I don't-
have, we have. And so,
I mean, is it, I mean, it's,
But like I said, every time we've had a lot of rain this
Every
year.
time.
And
Oh,
every
yeah.
time it rains, nothing's been done.
So every time it rains, I have to go out there and work? Is that what
Correct,
you-
if you,
So rain,
if you have a
snow-
gravel driveway and it's washing away, you need to go out and rake it, maintain your driveway. I can't go out and rake your driveway for you every time it rains.
I'm sorry, does this really seem reasonable to you, that we're supposed to go 20 feet into our grass and rake gravel and put it back under your road?
I didn't say put it under the road, I said rake it back up against the road.
But honestly, does this seem reasonable to you?
And it wouldn't get this deep if it was done though.
Does this
if
seem
you
like a
continually
normal
let it
household chore to you?
Happen. Does it seem like a household chore? No, it's,
Trustees, does this seem like a normal chore that?
I can tell you, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I live on National Avenue,
Yeah.
and when the plows come in, and
Plows,
we have
yes.
rocks, and we
Yes.
rent, and now it's county right away, but we rent a machine that
Yeah.
kicks all the rocks back onto the,
And that happened because when the village came, and they did that machine that does all the sticks,
Mhm.
we had to take care of all of our I understand that, I live in the country,
But to be told every time it rains, I have to go out there and
rake my
rake everything
gravel.
back up to the road?
I've
That
never
doesn't
heard
sound
of,
right.
I've never heard of, I mean, we have, quite a few people that have,
Gravel driveways.
right, and I've never heard of it washing
No.
away every time it rains.
And I think part of it too is that the previous driveway had been there for years, and the more traffic there is on a gravel driveway or road, the more compacted it becomes. And with, last summer, it was extremely dry, we got the stuff down, it was there. And then, this spring, we've had a tremendous amount of precipitation, and I think that's caused the erosion process to be exuberated by that. And so thus it's there where if it would have been maybe drier, we would have had, things of that nature there. So I think there is some environmental factors going into it, but I think at this point it's there. As DPW Director Bartels can probably explain, is that if you have a gravel driveway and you have a pothole in it, the only way to get rid of a pothole is to completely cut that pothole out and put new gravel down so it doesn't continue to show. So it is there.
Because we have the gravel and we've already
I just
2
regraded
times.
that driveway
We've
2 years
regraded,
ago.
we had like multiple trucks bring in
I
and
had
then we had
42 tons of gravel brought in and regraded 2 years ago.
We
So it
understand the
wasn't-
maintenance.
I think we understand the maintenance related to gravel driveway. DPW Director Bartels does. I
We
mean,
accept it.
and I caretake for properties that have gravel driveways, and
Yes.
it was a chore for me.
And
I
we're
had to go
fine
out
with
and do it, but I think the board has to, the decision's in the board's hands as to what the solution or recommendation or direction to staff would be at this point.
So is there any further
Well,
questions from the board?
Could
Trustee
you go
Lewis?
back out with cold patch and put a little bit of a lip on there to keep the water from?
as a temporary patch, I'd have to go back every so often then to redo it. I mean, that'll wash away eventually.
Because it's a driveway, because it's a gravel driveway.
Yeah, I mean, I could put a bump there, a cold patch, sure.
But is it gonna
And not
sell?
that
You seem annoyed
That's-
that you would have to come out and do that, but yet I'm supposed to rake all the gravel back to
Every
it.
time
It's your driveway.
But you
I have to
extended the
maintain
road
the other
into the
178
driveway.
miles.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else
Alright.
that you'd
No.
like to add, Mr.
No.
and Mrs. Christensen, Brett, board members? What would you like to do? I mean, you saw the staff's comments, you saw the attorney's comments. What would you like to do?
I don't want to set a precedence because there was a lot of circumstances where we're going to get forced to start paving private driveways. This is a unique circumstance that I don't think we're going to run into that often. So I'd like to find a solution, but I don't know that the solution is going to be paving 10 feet of driveway.
And I have an idea also, but I'd like to talk to.
I'd like to hear what the engineer says.
I do too. I mean, he's, nothing against Brett, because he works hand in hand, and Brad too. But if you wouldn't mind, if you could give us just a little bit of time, just to do a little bit more research, because I know board members are really concerned about setting precedent, but also
I get
empathetic to what
that.
you're dealing with.
I get that, I understand the lawyers, and I am very happy with how they tried to fix it. nothing against, I think it's a weird situation. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
I know
Yeah.
everyone has worked hard in this
And I-
situation.
And that's just it. It
And I
is
know it's a
really-
weird situation.
And I'd like to see it too. Wouldn't you like to see
understand
it?
Yeah.
Feel
Every
free.
solution's not
Go
gonna
ahead.
be a solution. A little bit more, I feel like every solution's not gonna be a solution because you're gonna be undercutting that little bit that driveway that's paved in. I mean,
Right.
it's gonna be a never-ending
Right.
battle. It's not, nothing. I don't
We're not
see a
asking you to
solution.
pave our drive, we don't want the gravel paved.
Well, no, I'm saying if you came out, say you came 5 feet in your driveway to pave it to stop it from
Oh.
running, it's gonna undercut that 5 feet
Oh,
right
that
there
way.
too. So
It's
you're
gonna
not,
undercut after it, yeah.
so you're not, we're not solving the problem.
What if we would be willing, how much would it cost, like if we were willing to pay you guys to do that?
I'm saying if we did it, it's not gonna solve the problem.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
You
so-
know, so I don't see a solution
Oh,
that's
yeah.
gonna be long-term.
What if you were to put the bump, the same kind of bump that we have in our top driveway?
Well, like I said, I don't know, I did not go out, and I really would like to see it myself, even after, like,
Yeah, I
after
don't see
it
that.
rains.
Yeah, the picture doesn't really show the,
Okay, because in
Bump,
our top
yeah,
driveway, we
see
put,
what's
what happened is when we
there.
first moved in 8 years ago, our top driveway, the people we bought it from, it just hadn't been maintained. So they didn't have a bump in there, because
Mhm.
it was getting washed out, so we put a big bump in there, like
So
a
what you're
big.
talking about is like, I'm gonna try and make this as big as I
It's
can.
hard to see how many
It's like
inches
right
high.
here where is the peak of the bump you're talking about,
It's-
right?
It's like a speed bump almost, is how I'd like to, like a speed bump that you have to go over.
In the road?
Right in our driveway.
Oh, in your driveway, oh, okay.
Mhm.
So everything runs down and hits that and runs down.
Yeah. So, Mr. and Mrs. Christensen, if you don't mind, I would like to table this item and get some more information,
Yeah,
and then
I'll
email you
second
back
that
when
If you
you,
need a motion for that.
right.
yeah, that's fine.
Was that your motion?
I'll make the motion to table it for now.
So if
Okay.
you could find how much it would be to come in a
Right.
little bit, or, I don't know.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll say.
Second by
I'd just like to
trustee
think
Millies?
about it, 'cause
Yeah.
Me
like
too,
I
and
said,
I'd like a little bit more information.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
I think that would be fair.
Further discussion from the board. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll just make sure that if we come out, we don't come out together, because then we'd come out individually.
Yeah,
Does that sound good?
yeah, thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Thanks.
Board members, the next agenda item
And it really
is,
cleared out, we must have bored everyone.
Hi, board.
It's not your fault.
the next agenda item, board members, is the approval of the peddler's permit for Noah Andrigas. These are all from, FT, it's for bugs. And I know they were out into the community, so, if you see people out, they have not been approved. So it would be approval of, Noah Andreas, Marlon Scott, and M. Jordan D. Scott, for peddler's permits. All the information the, administrator clerk put in your packet. Is there a motion to approve these 3 peddler's permits?
I'll make a motion to approve.
By trustee Millies, is there a second? Second by trustee Newman. Discussion from the board? Brad, you don't have any issues with these, do you?
no, we've gone through them and they're all good to issue.
Okay. Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board members, next agenda item is the cell tower agreement, approval and authorization for the village president to sign. This has been reviewed. Brad sent this to, has been working with the village attorney on the cell tower agreement. So at this time would be a motion to approve the cell tower agreement and contract. This is for American Tower? Ameritower? Who's it for?
That might have been the original holder.
I know they change constantly.
But I think what President Xi was trying to say, it is for the tower at Fire Station 2 on National
And
Avenue.
it's Ameritower. So, it'd be authorized to approve the contract agreement and authorize the village president to sign said contract or agreement. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by trustee Pecca. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Second by trustee Millies. Excuse me, trustee Finch, who's disguised as... Discussion, I know we've had this for quite some time, and I know Brad got a substantial amount of documentation for the attorney, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but when they change their names every 4 or 5 years, it is a big deal.
This is just for the existing tower that's
Mhm.
there, it's not a new tower.
Right, no.
Okay.
Further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Chiefs, you want to come up? We're discussing the staffing for the Vernon Fire Department, and Brad, did you get this? This is the updated.
Yeah, they gave us copies of
Okay.
it.
Boy, you guys look really serious. You guys are serious.
Busy.
Big explosion in East Troy today.
Really?
Really?
I heard about that.
Were we there?
You look tired.
Yeah, you guys do look
There
tired.
was nothing left of the house from the photos.
The house.
Yeah.
That was a guess.
So, after the last meeting we had, that Thursday, Wednesday, was it Thursday or Wednesday, whatever it was, we went back, looked at some calculations based on the remainder of this year. We're actually a little bit lower. I think we had some discussions about, the original sheet that we had sent to these guys, we had made a small little, mathematical errors. So the sheet I gave you tonight is a little bit more of an accurate estimate of what we would need to find if we wanted to move forward with what we discussed last Thursday. So I guess the numbers are there. Hopefully it makes sense. And I don't know if you have any questions.
Hey, is this gonna retain people?
I sure hope so.
Okay, so your basement, this is where we need
So-
to be. I'm sure you're not trying to short
No, and-
yourself, but you're not trying to.
And Chief, if you could just, I know we've heard it, but the public needs to hear what's happening with personnel
Right.
at the
So-
fire department.
Yeah, so just kind of a little, we'll revisit a little bit, but a challenge for an organization like ours, because we're part-time, is always that we need people. We're a part-time fire department that provides full-time professional service, obviously. And a lot of that a lot of it is successful because we have good quality people. A lot of these people want careers in the fire service, so they're younger people who are looking to get some experience. They come to us for a period of time, and then they get hired somewhere as a career firefighter or paramedic. So typically we have a pretty continual, turnover of people, usually between 15 and sometimes 20% over the course of the year. Is what we kind of typically do because we lose so many people to career departments. This last 2 months or so, we've lost probably 30% of our active team members who really were working a lot of hours because a lot of career departments have decided to hire for retirements and things like that. So we've been put into a bind where we're really short of people. We've done some headhunting, recruiting, so to speak, and a couple of things that we heard was that we weren't competitive with some of the other fire departments that are in our area that offer kind of some of the same opportunities, some part-time staff and things like that. And kind of feeling out our people, talking to some other fire chiefs, kind of came up with these numbers kind of based on that. I think it makes us attractive. Again, I think one of the biggest issues that we heard from our own people when we did a survey, and again from some of our potential people that we tried to headhunt and look as potential employees, was that there was no obvious opportunity to get into WRS if they work the required statutory hours. So that's where we're kind of at. We're hoping that it does help us create a solution to our challenge. If it doesn't, then obviously the next progression is to hire some full-time people, which comes at a bit more of an added expense to the community. Again, everything is expensive today. The challenges we face, whether it's personnel, equipment that people have to wear, the equipment that we utilize, the trucks, the building, I mean, everything costs a lot of money, and staffing really has become probably the greatest challenge we have. And when I say we have, I'm not talking about the Vernon Fire Department, I'm talking about the region, the nation, the country, in terms of trying to keep people engaged in this profession, because let's face it, in Wisconsin, our elected politicians at the state level gutted what a public employee could sometimes earn as a benefit, and some of those rights to bargain at. So, we have kind of had to recruit, and we're looking at doing a lot of different things, like trying to get kids interested in this stuff in high school, so that we can come and get them to come work at a place like Vernon. But hopefully, an attractive rate, the the opportunity to be enrolled in WRS if you work the required hours are all things that we're hoping will help solve the problem. Like I said, if not, then we'll be coming back to you to kind of try to figure out how we solve the problem. But this is going to be our first kick at the cat, so to speak.
So this would be just an additional 700 or 70,000 for the year.
For the end of the year, and then obviously
Going
looking at
forward, yes, yeah.
moving forward with the budget year, that'll be a whole different discussion. But I think it's something that if we don't do it, we can probably predict that we will have failures. And the last thing we want to do is not be able to provide our community with an adequate response because there's no one available to work. And that happens around us all the time. And that's not a great reputation to have. It's frustrating and disappointing to our community and to our customers that they don't get the best care that they should get. So hopefully this will help solve that challenge.
And Chief, do you think the new wages that you have listed here are attractive enough to retain?
I think it's a good start. I think it's something that, you know, we also have to be somewhat realistic as to what we think we can do. And again, that's where I think, you know, we're all ears to hear from you guys. I mean, if you want to up it a little bit, we're more than happy to do that. But you know, we kind of did a very informal kind of salary study of looking at what are some of the other communities doing that are kind of in our position. You know, we do about 3 calls a day, so it's enough that you have to have coverage. Where there's other departments that maybe do less than a call a day, and they don't really have that stress on the demand for service. So I think it will. And again, I think that some of the feedback we've gotten from our people was very positive. And hopefully that will translate into, you know, having adequate staffing. And now we'll be able to go out and we'll be able to, you know, do a little headhunting and do some aggressive recruiting to try to get some people by offering them a little bit more than maybe what some of our neighbors might. Or at least be in the ballpark.
This is something we're gonna have to keep ahead of though. I mean, right now we're behind and we're coming to the area where we're gonna become attractive again. We can't wait another 3 years and not do anything and then be behind again and have to become.
And have that roller coaster.
We have to be able to do something that continues, because other departments are gonna look and they're doing the studies too.
They're gonna raise their rates.
They're gonna raise their rates. You know, and
Do we have the ARPA funds to cover this for this year?
In the audited financial statement, there's over $800,000 in the 2020 audited financial statement. I know Brad, you said there was 100,000, but if you look at the audited financial statement from 2020-22, there's $801,000 in that account.
So, I mean, to me, this is a no-brainer. We had a massive drop in staff in a very short period of time, and it's $70,000.
Huge red flag.
Yep.
It's $70,000.
You know what?
Come on.
It's a great problem to have because it says that we're hiring good people, quality people.
Yeah.
But the double-edged sword is that then they become very marketable and very attractive to career departments, and we lose them. But hopefully,
The
one
ones
yes,
that you lost,
6 to 1.
are they able to come back in 6 months?
Yes.
Part-time?
Hopefully.
6 to a year.
We
6
can
to a year.
use
depending
our
on
funds,
probation
right?
period.
Yes. ARPA funds can be.
I'd make a motion to direct
Wait.
ARPA funds to.
Wait. Before,
We don't have a motion on the table, so we can't even.
but just before we go, I just want to clarify. Just looking at the numbers, I think there was just a typo. The bottom section, officer EMT, is at 6312. You did it times 30.
Yes.
So 1 times 182 would bring it to 11,487 and 84 cents, bringing the total to 79,847 and 36 cents.
I'm sorry, what?
Good to know.
There's a reason why we did it at 30 and not 182, because we only have one person in that
That would be a
position.
net pay rate.
That would only work that position every 30 days, not every
Or
year.
30 days.
Oh, so this is correct, these
Yes,
numbers are correct?
these numbers are
Okay.
correct. But we'll
We
take
have
79.
one EMT officer.
Okay.
Should've kept quiet, yeah.
But, and I wouldn't entertain, I would instruct, the motion should be instruct the fire department to start advertising for these positions. I would like.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, I literally, our hiring notice has been reformatted hopefully follow these numbers.
But what I'd like to do, Chief, excuse me, is, I want the process starting right away, but what I'd like to do after our next, plan commission meeting is have a short board meeting, because I wanted to talk with Brad about that and another funding resource that we might have, so if we could hold on the allocation on the funding.
Gotcha.
Just
To
get the
direct them
chiefs.
to go ahead.
Right, because we know we have the funds, but I'd like to have a meeting with the board and the chief after our plan commission, with our administrator, the board, and chiefs, you don't have to be there, but I just want to talk about some other areas of possible funding, not that, just so you know, I just want the chiefs to get going, and we can do the money stuff next week.
That's good enough for me. If that's your motion, I'll second it. If it's not, I'll make a motion.
Yes, that was my motion to direct the chiefs to start the hiring process for these positions immediately. Is there a second to that motion? Motion was seconded by trustee Newman. Discussion here in motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And as an aside, does board members have any problem talking about this briefly after our next plan commission meeting?
No, like I said,
And Brad will talk later.
I think it's pretty important that we have complete coverage. I mean,
Right.
I would hate to let anyone down.
So get going.
And we greatly appreciate it. We know it's a difficult situation. The membership greatly appreciates it. They've been very fortunate that we've had great support from the board over the years since we split. I'm just very proud of the job that our people do every day. Whether the 4th of July, there's going to be people there working while everyone else is celebrating the holidays. So those are things that we really want to hopefully make them understand that we do appreciate them.
And good leadership keeps people around.
I appreciate that too.
Thank you, gentlemen. You get going and keep the staff and our board abreast of how things are going.
Make pancakes.
That's coming around real quick too. That's less than 3 months away, so. Was the report on there though?
No, nope. I mean, it's on there as a token, but, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Guys, you have no problem holding up on, possible budget. We'll handle finance next week. Brad, is that okay with you?
No, that's fine with me.
Okay, is that okay, guys?
Yeah.
Next, the newsletter. Brad passed it out, just a little while ago, the draft newsletter. No one's really had a chance to look at it.
I got a question. I actually did have a chance to look at it.
So the article that I emailed everybody yesterday is all what's in there. There was one little addition, I think, to the last sentence or last line of that first big section on page 1, or it would have been the first paragraph. Basically, I think there was just a typo or some clarification in there. Beyond that, everything else is the same.
Yeah. So my question is there more room? Can we put another thing in here?
Sure. We can make more room,
Okay.
I guess. That's
the pictures of the facility should take away the I'd get rid of the garbage.
yeah, I mean, the garbage stuff is there, so I mean, there's 2 full pages of stuff.
It's not that big of a deal. I think we should put something in there kind of showing how everyone's taxes haven't really changed in 40 years. And this is us playing catch up. If we put a chart in there, I'd like to see a chart in there kind of showing that. And maybe comparing to other municipalities' levy rates and saying, hey, we're actually not doing so bad even after we spend this money.
No, I know. It really is.
If you really compare us to other municipalities, we're killing
And we're bargaining.
it. Yeah.
I put it right quick.
I don't know how you feel too. Like I said, Brad, I would, I'd like, the pictures of the facilities in place of the garbage thing, unless you have more.
Sure. I mean, I when I was putting it together, I didn't have anything from, I won't say anything from Devon. I just didn't have pictures from Devon, but we can definitely add. I mean, that's a quick pic. I mean, I guess you want pictures of what's proposed or pictures of current beyond what's already in there?
The proposed, I think they want
Okay.
to see what it is. I mean, if they haven't seen it.
I think we should focus on the old, honestly.
I know people would like to see the new. I mean,
Is that on the website though?
So they would have been in I think some of the plans. I don't think there's much on there. I mean, I think it's easy to have Devin send us the, renderings of the front, or quartering, look at it so you can see the front. I don't think we have a ton. I mean, there's stuff on the other sides, but we don't have a ton of, like interior stuff that he had because the focus of those meetings
Right.
were more exterior because the interior could change to some degree as we finalize stuff.
Yeah, I put a picture of the proposed fire station in the front versus the picture of the shower stall right away.
Right.
That might not be a bad idea.
Well, board members, could you, any other feedback? I mean, I'd like the financial information. I like, Dylan's information. I mean, I have that from the county, what our tax rate has been for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
What was I
I
gonna
think it's
say?
important to highlight that we've done pretty well, and comparing us to other communities, I mean, we're doing fantastic.
And I did do some, I haven't had a chance to send it to you, Brad, some typos and stuff on the narrative. I don't know how you feel, but I sure would like Justin's financial, that one page that shows the dollar amounts, what we currently have, what, worst case, best case.
The one, this.
Yeah, just
this,
one page.
Or the back page.
Yeah, and just, probably even both, just to say, just so they
I'm not
can see.
opposed to both. I don't know that people are gonna understand this page, but the bar graphs are good. I like graphs.
Yeah, but I know people that have called that seen what was on the website.
Yeah.
Granted, they're builders, or so they had a lot of questions. And this kind of too is for the people that aren't website savvy, is hopefully,
Right. That's exactly the whole point of this. is
Right.
because most of our residents probably aren't
right,
super tech savvy.
right. And the one picture too, Brad, this one of the hall, that's just an awful picture. You didn't take that, did you?
Which one was it?
This is the, it looks like-
The village hall or
Looks like
Vinny? No, that wasn't my photography. The fire department ones were Alex and, this room was me.
It sure would be.
I think it was Devin. It wasn't, maybe
Oh, it might have
Devin.
been Devin too. It was Devin.
We'll say it was Devin, he's not here.
I'm
Yeah.
interested to see how many people show up to the meeting after this goes out,
Oh, right.
because it'll be a great example of
What,
why the stream's not big enough.
did you guys set the date for the meeting?
I think you
No.
get a picture of the truck up on a lift where you're on your knees trying to work on it.
There's a lot of things like that you could, I mean, that's why we lifted it that one day that they did the
Yeah.
open house.
Yeah.
But like you said, nobody came, so.
Well, hopefully this will spark enough controversy that people actually take interest in.
Trustee Pecca?
Well, I'd like to see whatever information you can get out to inform people, do it.
I think this is that last piece of due diligence that we need to do.
Right.
We really need to get information out.
So, board members,
This will go in everyone's hand.
would you have any objection to, giving Brad a chance to get this updated, just quick approve it on the 10th?
That's totally fine with me.
Brad, is that?
Yeah, I mean, I would
What
like.
day of the week is the 10th?
It's a Wednesday.
I mean, or I would say,
Or you want to do it the 18th?
no, I'd like to do it sooner rather than later. I mean, I would prefer, I mean, the 10th is there. I mean, the longer we push out, the longer we're looking to get it, by the 10th. I mean, that's where,
I know, but it wasn't our intent to wait this long. I would just like to see the finished product.
No, I'm not asking for approval tonight. I mean, I don't know if there's availability for like a Zoom meeting on Monday or something to do it, or, I mean, I guess we can do it on the 10th.
That'd be fine with me too. It doesn't matter.
We can do it on the 10th.
I just thought the 10th, because we'll all be here. I know we have, the village hall is closed on the 4th and the 5th, so I was just thinking I'd give Brad Monday, Tuesday to put it together for Wednesday.
I think that's only fair, yeah.
Do we have a final public meeting date picked?
Well, we have
That's
to do
on the
that.
agenda.
Yeah, that's the only thing Brad would put in there, is that those dates.
We want to make sure that this gets out and it's out for a week or two
Yeah.
before that date
Oh,
too.
absolutely.
So when Brad gets it done, it's about 3 to 4 weeks through the printing and,
Usually like 2 weeks.
really?
Yeah, I mean, it can be that
So I
quick.
make a motion to table the date until this is done and we approve this.
Right, and
We'll
then
make the
get,
date at the same time as we
Right.
approve this.
okay, and then we'll ask the fire department also, because we want them to have their facilities
house, right.
open also. So Brad, is that the 10th doable?
Oh, yeah, the 10th is more than doable. I mean, yeah.
And for some, Brad, if you think you're gonna be a lot further along,
Yeah, I mean,
let us know, we can Zoom.
yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, like, as we've heard comments tonight, the referendum, I believe, has to be in 77 days prior to the or 70-some days prior to the election, which puts us, I know I looked at it at some point, it was like August, it put us.
Right, I know Brad and I looked at it.
And it,
before.
so it's like we're kind of down to that 45-day window, and that's where.
Wasn't an advisory referendum.
They are, yeah.
There are, so we just have to get it, but we have to get it submitted by that time, so that means we have to have everything put together, plus you probably work with Attorney Macy to draft a question for it and have everything solidified by, I think it's that day, that's what I'm looking at right now, is to try to come up with that, and that's where, to me, getting this out sooner rather than later is.
Are you talking about
Isn't it illegal to do that?
Wait, we got two questions.
So I'm
Wait,
yeah.
Trustee Finch?
Is this supposed to be an advisory?
Yes, it's.
So it's not a true referendum?
Yeah, you'd list it as an advisory, because binding referendums don't exist.
That's
for us.
still, didn't Macy say something somewhere that they don't like advisory referendums or something?
Well, you just have to realize if they say no and you still have a problem, you're gonna have to do something. I mean, God forbid, if the people say, no, we shouldn't do anything, we can't sit by and have people sleeping in one quarters, there's no detox room there, I mean, there's things we'd have to do.
What time are we thinking on the 10th?
Right after Plan Commission. Plan
Oh,
Commission's at 6?
That's what I'm saying, with the advisory referendum, that puts us out so far, and getting very little response from the public.
You get your responses at the November 3rd election, so you'd have
That's
it.
putting us too far into the year
To even borrow money.
You could, yeah, I mean, you could, yeah. You'd have to talk with Justin further.
That's the problem,
That's just.
part of me thinks that we're elected because we're completely informed on everything going on in the background, and we have to make the decision. I mean, I would love for everybody to care enough for them to show up to every meeting and listen to everything. People don't.
No, and they're gonna vote on their pocketbook, no, I don't wanna spend the money, no, my taxes going up.
But then
They
they're
don't
gonna
know
be
the-
just
they
as
don't know
pissed
the-
when
Nobody's sleeping.
nobody
everywhere.
shows up when they
Yeah.
call 911 or.
Right.
Workers' comp.
Or if it takes 20 minutes, or if we get sued because something happens and the truck drops onto Joe in the parking lot.
And just because a couple people came and asked for a referendum, doesn't mean we have to do a
Right,
referendum.
right.
So I mean, we could, if we see the feedback, if we get positive feedback from this and negative, it seems to run in together,
Right.
then maybe we can move
Well,
ahead.
I'm kinda looking at it, I mean, you got 10 people showing up and all negative feedback, where's all the rest of the residents?
Right.
I mean,
It's
how do
kinda
you-
like
how do you
reviews.
justify the 10, you know, so it's.
You had 27 people here. I just counted the chairs.
Did you?
So what's? but that-
27 people out of what, 7,000?
7,500?
7,500?
So that's what you have.
That's not
to
a
show.
terrible ratio, but I want to give everybody the chance to see this.
Right.
And then come and give us the feedback. I want this room to be packed in the meeting after.
Right,
Yeah.
I want everybody to show up and tell us how they feel about it.
right.
But I also think that there's a reason that there's an elected position. And
Right.
it's kind of our job to make sure that the village is protected and that things are done right.
Very good, gentlemen. So we're on the same, we know exactly what Brad's gonna do with the newsletter, and then we'll talk about those dates with the fire department and our schedules, and we'll go from there. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
So, Brad, you got anything else?
So we want how taxes have changed, pictures of the proposals, and.
The buried, finance stuff?
And buried finance stuff.
And ditch the garbage stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that good? Brad, if we do have one little spot, if we could just put the October 22nd reminder, I mean, they're gonna get, that's that stormwater meeting?
The garbage
Yeah,
control
and we can have, so there'll be like a little election, you see there's election
Yeah.
there. We
Yeah,
can
right.
shrink that down, we can put that together, we can put election in that, we'll get that, so, I mean, there's plenty of space on there, this is the feedback that we're looking for.
So you good, Brad?
Yep.
Okay, gentlemen, Center Drive, in your packet, I know there was a lot of information, but we need to approve the, design study report and authorize the village president to sign said report. This was done by our engineering firm. And I did, send that to Attorney Macy, both both the design and this next agenda item. Attorney Macy realizes those documents are pretty much standard and done on the models of the DOT. So I would entertain a motion, or I would move to approve the design study report and authorize the village president to sign said report. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second it.
Second by trustee Finch. Discussion from board members. I know it's a lot of information, but wait till you see what else is coming. Further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next agenda item is the permit from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Their permit, I would entertain a motion, I'll make the motion to approve the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers report and authorize the village president to sign said permit. Is there a second to my motion?
Second.
Second by trustee Newman. Discussion? Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And I just wanted to let board members know there's going to be a lot of stuff coming fast now because the timing is down. So Brad might have to do some Zoom meetings or meetings when these reports start coming through. They're going to come through fast. So Brad will be informed on everything, send them out to you guys, and we'll set up whatever we need to set up. But I just wanted to warn you. We're coming down to the wire now. Thank God. You know. That sound good, gentlemen?
Yeah.
The next agenda item we talked about briefly. What we're going to do is I'll talk to the chiefs to get some dates from them, and then board members bring your calendars at the 10th so that we can get a couple dates. Are you guys looking for weekends? Are you looking? Obviously evenings. Do you have any feeling on? Kind of like to do it the opposite of what the fire department, because I'd like to be there when the fire department's having their open houses.
So, you guys want to do open houses, or do you want to do, I guess you could do an open house and then have, at both, and then have a centralized meeting point coming back to one place to have a meeting. I mean, I guess as we talked, as you guys have mentioned already, the potential attendance of the meeting, do we want to make sure we have adequate space if it's raining out or whatever for it, would be my question. When I've seen these meetings in the past for like road projects, they're always done in the evening hour, like, 6 or 6:30 starts, so people who work late have a chance to get home. I think if it's this important and we give enough notice, people will, find a way to make it work in their schedule. So, with weekends, people just tend to get busy, and as we shoot for August, you have State Fair, you have, I think schools start. I think St. Joe's was always traditionally in late July, early August. So I think my recommendation would be a weeknight.
It'd be nice to do it at the school because they have a big facility, good parking. There's no school going on. To get a bigger facility, because here it's just not big enough.
I like that idea.
So we'll work on, everybody bring your calendars. We're looking end of August, hopefully, because or mid-August, depending on when Brad thinks we can get the newsletter out. Right? Does that sound good?
I like the idea of having a facility big enough, because this is not going to cut.
Yeah, Brad, if you want me to log on, I have a login to the school thing.
Sure, I don't have it.
Yeah, so I'll is there any, we'd stay away from, obviously Thursdays, and, I'll log into the school to see what they hate, because we do the gym. So they have a nice microphone that you can set up for, a nice amount of people, and that way a lot of people can participate in the discussion. Does that sound good with the board? Yeah, Big Bend Elementary, yeah, that's in the village of Vernon.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, guys, does that sound good?
Yes.
All right. Next agenda item, I was looking for the board to authorize the CPA from ACS to finalize the 2020-23 financials. We're off just slightly, but I would like to get that done so I can get those numbers to Brad so he can get the numbers from Workhorse to Tammy, and we can finalize. It would set us, the person, the CPA from ACS actually sets up, when you set up the program, so she knows the system, knows, I think it'd be, money well spent. Johnson Block, I have nothing against them. I did call them, but they never called me back.
I like the idea. I just want to know, we have a rough idea of the cost.
I have no idea. I mean,
you could, You could authorize her to a certain, I think you said they felt $3,000 was,
Oh, no, I
Or-
I
or
don't
maybe
think,
something else.
I know we spent $2,000 last year, but I don't think it'd come anywhere near that. Just say, I'm guessing, I don't even know, but I would say not to exceed $1,000. I'm not 100% sure what, and if it's gonna go over that, then I haven't,
This is gonna wrap us up for 23?
oh, that's what, we're not that far off, but I just can't, I've never
I
seen
have no
it.
problem with this whole thing. Isn't this your job, Brad? Shouldn't you be doing all this and all the finances? Because ever since I've been on the board, our finances haven't been in order. And isn't that the clerk's responsibility?
Well, he was working,
I was working on it, but my job description I've seen is not to reconcile the books. It's to cut checks.
and we didn't have well, the treasurer didn't do any bank recs for months. The previous
just-
treasurer, I
I'm just
know,
fed up with their finances in general.
I
And I
know.
don't know, I mean, things need to change.
well, like I said, that's why I think the CPA from ACS knows the system. I'm sure what happened before with the previous auditor, things were sent over. I've even called ACS and had some of their, I didn't call the CPA, but I called ACS to see, I just don't, I've never seen where you can't find a $3,600 revenue. That's what we're off, is, there's a couple more things that need to be voided, but I hate to do that until the CPA from ACS sees what's done, because that's what's holding us up. It's just making sure those numbers balance out to the cash. Brad has everything ready for 2020-23 in workhorse, correct?
Yep, we're just
And-
wrapping we got a couple things to wrap up in there, but it's really close and ready to go.
So what he's gonna do, I hope workhorse,
Yep.
you can download in Excel.
Yep,
I can download everything from ACS into Excel. You merge those two sheets and give those, Tammy, the person from Workforce, enters the beginning balances for 2020-23. And then Terry's he's probably gonna put in extra time because he wants to start reconciling like ASAP. So he's waiting too.
Is, that $1,000 budgeted somewhere?
Mm-mm. No, I don't know I'm sure we budgeted for accounting assistance.
yeah, I think there was some money, I'd have
There
to.
usually, it always was like 6,000, for
Yeah.
budget assistance, not the actual budget. But I talked to Karen Wolf today too, and she was asking where we are also.
And-
That's the girl that's gonna do our
And we'll
audit.
start getting stuff to her so that all she's waiting on is the numbers.
Yeah, so that
So we
would,
can pull that money from that 6,000.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
or
accounting
there's-
assistance.
Or there's money from clerk administrator health insurance too.
So there's
Additional
money,
that
yeah.
wasn't used.
So just say authorize the village president to work with the CPA from ACS to get the 2020-23 till June of 2020-23 to get that done so we can move on.
Yeah, I wanna get everything back in order.
So is there a motion to that effect?
So,
I'll make,
motion.
Okay.
Second, it doesn't
Okay.
matter, I don't care.
you'll be mostly the first one, I'll make the second
Let's
one.
just keep it moving.
Well, trustee Newman made a motion to authorize the village president to work with the CPA for ACS to finalize the 2020-23 financial information capped at $1,000, second by trustee Pecca. Discussion, hearing none, all in the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Brad, that was unanimous. Next agenda item is the early grading agreement for the Newman property located at South 92 West 27720 Edgewood Avenue, and authorized village president to sign. Just so board members are aware, the village attorney and the village engineer are involved, and county stormwater, all are involved in this agreement. And I would, entertain a motion or ask the board for a motion to authorize the early grading agreement for the Newman development as the address stated by the village president, with the condition that the village attorney approves the final document.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, and the only reason I'm not including the engineer is more not the legal issues. And Newman's, the developer, has automatically said whatever letter of credit, not a bond, and John's happy with that. They knew right from the bat whatever John asked for. The engineer, John usually consults with the engineer to ask, and then I'm always copying Brad and Brett so they know what's going on in that. But the developer wants to get in there and start moving because there's a lot of stuff to move around before they get to preliminary plat. So, further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Board members, we have ordinance number 2020-2401, 2024-05, 2024-14, and 15. And what happened is the timing of the detachment and attachment ordinances with the Village of Vernon, Village of Mukwonago, somehow got misconstrued. So you saw Brad, you did send them the attorney's comments in regards to the appropriate motion that.
2024-01.
Yeah, I think the one that's maybe in front of you is the incorrect agenda.
Right. So what we need to do is we need to rescind rescind ordinance 2024-14 because it's no longer effective, and readopt revised ordinance 2020-2401 with the non-substantial corrections requested by the Department of Administration and staff with an effective option date of January 18th, 2024, and a revision date of July 2nd, 2024.
Do you need two separate motions, or can that be done in one?
Just one.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Oh, the motion was made by Trustee Newman, second by Trustee Finch in regards to the motion to rescind and readopt ordinance number 2024-01. Discussion. I know you saw information from the attorney. Brad has the clean ordinance, and I know what Brad's going to do as soon as it's signed. Further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Let's see. Proclamation. I know, Brad, you didn't print it out. But, let me just read here. What's that, Brad?
I pull it up.
I got it here too. I just have to. I didn't want to forget. You know how we feel about the 4th of July, right, guys?
Yeah.
So, I know it's in your packet, but come on. Okay. Let's see. Whereas on July 4th, 1776, our founding fathers ratified the Declaration of Independence, a historic document declaring that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas this document laid the foundation for the future prosperities and helped establish a government based on individual liberties and the rule of law, which is society's sacred bond, and whereas Americans and Village of Vernon residents, it is our duty to preserve the fundamental principles, freedoms, and liberties that have ensured the continued prosperity of our nation. And whereas Independence Day is an important opportunity to honor the brave men and women in uniform who have defended our nation's enduring values, whom we can never thank enough for their courage and sacrifices. And whereas in 1870 the 4th of July has been recognized as a federal holiday so Americans may celebrate our nation's timeless truth and great freedoms that call us to a higher sense of patriotism. Now I, Karen Shue, President of the Village of Vernon, do hereby proclaim Thursday, July 4th, 2024, Independence Day in the Village of Vernon, and recognize our foundation in recognition of the founding of our great nation, and ask all residents to take time to celebrate the freedom enshrined in our nation's founding on its 248th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and ask all Vernon residents to honor those who protected our nation's independence. In this testimony thereof, I hereby set my hand and cause the great seal of the Village of Vernon to be affixed on this proclamation on June 2nd, 2024.
July 2nd.
July, excuse me, Sue. So there's no motion. I know how our board feels about our nation and our country, so I just wanted to get that in there. I'm going to defer to the village trustees for their reports first, and then I'll go back to me. So, Jay, do you have any reports?
Well, I'd like to wish everybody a safe 4th. The only thing is be careful with fireworks. And that's about all.
Trustee Finch.
All I'm gonna say is have a nice Fourth.
Thank you, Trustee Newman.
Ditto to what they said, but also, let's have a safe Fourth too. Organize a designated driver. Ubers are cheap, DUIs are not. If you're on the water or on the roads, just stay safe, and I guess fireworks wise, you're gonna use them whether we tell you to or not. Be safe. Let's come out of this with all of our fingers.
Thank you, Trustee Newman. Trustee Millies?
No, I'd just like to wish everybody a happy and safe 4th of July.
Sounds good. I just wanted to, with that, just remind our village residents that we are closed on the 4th and the 5th in observance of the 4th of July. And I just wanted to state, I know all board members know this, but state and local laws only allow board members to discuss issues in an open forum, which allows the public to listen to the board members' discussion. I know you see many comments on social media questioning agendas, and as a reminder, we do not and cannot discuss any issues regarding the Village of Vernon unless it's on agenda. Please understand as you read comments on social media, always remember we follow our open meetings law. In the past week, once again, tons of meeting with the DOR and the DOT and DNR on the Center Bridge project. And as I stated on the agenda, be forewarned, a lot of meetings are coming. McGuanago Village President Fred Wachowski and I are meeting with County Exec on July 10th to talk about some of the issues related to National Avenue. I'll keep you posted on that. I wanted to ask the board if they could consider on the next agenda, I would like to have a board meeting where Jana Knoll comes in from Norris School District. I've had 2 meetings with her, and I really would like the public and the board to hear what's happening at the Norris School and the difference between the Norris School and Norris Center. Unbelievable history. Oh my God, it's like night and day. And the history, I mean, I thought I understood the history of Norris, but I really didn't. So I don't know if the board would mind just doing a separate board meeting, but I'd like to broadcast it on YouTube. So you can see they've won a national awards at that school for what they're doing for AP kids that are troubled. I mean, it's just unbelievable, that spectrum. But I'll put that on the agenda so the board members can discuss it. And also wanted to thank again the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department, EquiSearch Midwest, everyone that's still looking for Isaiah Kramer. And I know the board echoes, everybody wishes a safe return for Isaiah. But I want to thank everybody for their continued efforts, and also asking the board to look into the GoGov information. Just wanted the board members to take a look at that to see what their thoughts are. Also, the Village of Mugwanago sent their ordinances that have been approved by the state. Diana, their clerk administrator, had sent the certification to the board. And then with that, Brad, we don't have this meeting, we don't have anything with the sheriff's or fire department. That's next meeting.
Next meeting.
Brad, do you have any announcements or reports? Or?
No.
And Brad, I know you're not on the agenda, so we'll jump right into the July 2nd AP. The only thing I wanted to add, Brad, is it okay if we just add that 13527 Spectrum bill into the AP? I know Alex is going to get you that receipt for $43.35. He has a receipt there from that we did not have in the packet. Brett sent all the other information, and I also was gonna, contact Mike Zolecki to let him know that if he is ordering something from Amazon, he should order it through Sewell so we can get the tax exempt. And or if he goes somewhere, he should, anytime you bring your tax exempt information, they should not charge the tax. And I know Sue picked up on several of the bills that that they charge tax, or Sue and Brad, whoever that was picked up. But just for the sake of discussion, I would add the 13527 Spectrum bill. So the initial accounts payable is $29,024.94 with the 13527. Making a total for the accounts payable $29,160.21. Discussion. Board members, you have any?
Question, the Johnson Sand and Gravel bill. I couldn't find all the receipts in my packet or something.
Yeah.
Submitted them.
Yeah, Brad.
Well,
Yeah.
I turned them in, somehow they didn't get scanned, and then they
Yeah.
were looking for them this afternoon, so I re-emailed
All right.
the original invoices
Yeah.
I got over.
Yeah, and we'll have those emailed to you after the meeting, but I did verify, there were two bills, you know,
And I had the tickets all stapled to them.
Well, there was one there too, and I tried adding up, but that's not adding up to any of these amounts. Well, what is this here?
yeah, we'll email that one so that you can see, but I did verify that, Jeff.
Okay, so I'm good with it then. You can see the email.
So I know.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I made a motion, but can
I'll
you
second
second?
it then.
Okay, discussion? Discussion, hearing none from the board, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Board members, we have one manual check spread. This is the life insurance premium for $135.15. That was before you. I'd make a motion to approve the manual check to Centurion Life Insurance, the amount of $135.15. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by trustee Newman. Discussion. Discussion, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. The July 2023 ACH, I would make a motion to approve the July 2023 ACH amount in the amount of $114,309.34. In that ACH, there were just there were two entries that were missed. It was $1488.66.40, and it was $3 off on the, I think it was it's the life the insurance premium. So I would make a motion to approve the ACH transactions for July 2023 in the amount of $114,309.34. Is there a second to my motion?
Second.
Second by trustee Newman. Discussion. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Brad, you're gonna do June next month, right?
Yeah, well, May and June,
Oh, yeah.
hopefully by the second meeting.
Okay. You just kinda got a report on where we are in the 2023 and 24 financials. And Brad, you said you're gonna start sending things to the auditor for the...
Yes, as soon as we have the financials to them, they're ready to rock and roll, hopefully.
And there are some things that you can send while you're waiting?
Yeah, I mean, they want minutes, and they send a whole, I think there's like 30 items on there. You know,
Right.
some of them are minutes and all the other stuff, so we'll get that stuff to them, and
Yeah.
so they have everything they need for it, so that when they start, hopefully it's just the numbers and the other stuff.
Okay. Any questions, anything on financial before we move into minutes, board members? With
Pretty
the,
much on budget with everything for the year so far?
I'd have to,
I mean, I went, I mean, there's some stuff that's off when I glanced through there. There's none that caught my eye that we were off on yet, that was like major that I recall. I mean, I thought I put it in there.
In the past,
okay.
we got a barcode, or not a barcode, like a progress bar, you know, if we're 30% or something like that through.
I know I've been putting the reports in there.
yeah, on the last one,
Is it in there?
remember the one I roll I gotta show you that, Brad, because, yeah, like I said, and even Tammy did an update, because our, what was in workhorse and what was in the budget, we kinda, when we do our budget and the the reports, it kinda mirrored each other, so, like I said, there was professional reimbursement fees with recreational, we just have to separate. Tammy did something, but it just
Yeah.
has to be tweaked a little bit better, just so we can see what we're spending and creating in each different department, so.
Yep.
So, with that, I would, moving on to the minutes, I'd make a motion to approve the May 20th, 2024 board meeting for the appraisal services for the center bridges. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll make a second, subject to the change that, my last name has two N's at the end of it, under the first paragraph.
Perfect. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. The next one is June 20th, 2024 village board, and the only thing is, under, I can't remember, a shoe is spelt wrong on like some minutes, it's like at the very end. It's
Wait,
got-
were we doing May 20th before?
We just did May 20th, yeah.
Oh, sorry, the correction I made was in June 20th.
Okay, so
Sorry
you're.
about I'm getting my 20ths messed up.
Okay. So yours was, in the first paragraph, there's two N's in Newman, right?
Correct. Under June 20th, yep.
Like the introduction part?
Yep.
Okay, and then mine is at the very, very end, so I'd make a motion to approve the June 20th minutes with those two corrections. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Newman, discussion. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Just a reminder, we have a Village Board and Plan Commission on July 10th, and we'll also do a little quick newsletter update thing there. We have a next board meeting is July 18th, and we're reconvening Board of Review on July 30th. At this point, I'd entertain a motion to move into closed session as stated by the village president and printed on agenda item number 4. With just note for the record that the clerk administrator will also be included in closed session. Is there a motion to that effect to move into closed session?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second to the
I'll
motion?
second it.
Second by trustee Pepper. Excuse me. Brad, can you read the roll call?
President Shu?
Yes.
Trustee Pecca?
Yes.
Trustee Finch?
Yes.
Trustee Newman?
Yes.
Trustee Millies?
Yes.
Okay, we're in closed session. Thank you, you can go. Brad, you can't go.
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Brad.